So, hey, this is Willie from SmartPath, guys. I'm here with Kevin McCarty. Kevin is from DNS Filter. DNS Filter is part of a number of new security services here that we're rolling out for our clients. And so it's something that, if that is you're one of our clients, you'll be seeing soon. But it's an important topic for business owners everywhere and just for the general public to kind of understand exactly what DNS filtering is, kind of where it fits into keeping your business, your organization secure, and then kind of where we go from there. So Kevin, is that a fair statement, a fair intro?
That's good. I like it. Thank you so much. So yeah, so DNS filter, just, in the nutshell, where this fits into everything. If you've never heard of DNS before, it's part of the internet. And when you want to go to a website, the first thing you're going to do is make what's called a DNS request. And essentially what we do, without getting way into the weeds of it, sorry about that, is that when you send that DNS request, you're going to send that request to us. We're going to block phishing websites. We're going to block malicious domains. We're going to also be able to do content filtering where you can block adult, gambling, any kind of category you want, social media. And essentially what we're doing is we're taking something that you're already doing with the internet while you're watching this video right now, just putting ourselves in the middle of that and making sure that all of your employees, that all of your staff, even your guests are going to reputable websites, and you're taking them away from the websites that they want to do. So it's a fantastic tool for content filtering, like I mentioned, with blocking that adult, blocking that gambling, but then also security, because it just adds another layer in your security posture where you're going to be checking for malicious domains and able to block them. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. What do you think of that, Willie?
No, that's it. I think that's a great explanation. One question and one kind of situation that we've seen sometimes, Kevin, which I think, DNS filtering helps with tremendously, is websites. Everybody in the world has a website nowadays, and it's pretty easy to go throw a website up on the internet for your pet groomer or your nail salon or your business or your family or whatever the case may be. And because it's so easy to throw a web page up, a lot of times malicious people and people, who want to infect you with ransomware, that kind of thing, that's a really easy platform for them to kind of back end their way into. And, maybe my pet grooming website that I go to for my pet groomer was safe last week, but then somebody from foreign country somewhere realized that, hey, they used a really weak password, and everybody who goes to that pet grooming website this week is going to get infected. Now, I went last week and I was okay. This week, it's a bad side. It's going to affect my computer negatively. And so that's kind of where you all come in. Is that right?
Yeah. So essentially, we are doing that filtering, but the way that we figure out what each website is, the way that we do that classification, is we actually have our own in-house AI system that's constantly scanning websites out there, seeing what's out there, and trying to identify these malicious domains. So what this means for the end user, like you mentioned, is that if there is a website, it might get scanned, and then it'll have, it has some of these indications of a malicious domain. We're probably going to pick that up and we're going to flag it and make it so that it's blocked. So if you visit something today and it's good, but then in a few weeks it's bad, it's very likely that it's going to be blocked, because we are looking for these things. As a funny aside, I saw that even with an MSP that I worked with, where I went to their website to find the phone number, and it was a bunch of gibberish, and they were under attack because their password was so weak. And thankfully, after that, that kind of flagged it for DNS filter to give it a scan. And after that, we identified it as a phishing website. And that's the thing about this, is that websites are changing all the time. We see a lot of weird domains that come through, and we have a lot of ways that not only can we identify these domains as they come up, but we also have some preventative measures as well. So we have a cool feature where you have the option to block any domain that was made in the last 30 days. So a lot of the time, especially in these recent SolarWinds hacks, the hackers will create websites right there so that it slips through all these filtering services that are scanning. And with us, we just block them. So if they register that page yesterday, we're just going to block it. And it's a fantastic way for you to just kind of cut the head off right there without really having to lift a finger. So we have a lot of ways that we can prevent against these things.
Makes sense. A lot of our users, a lot of times, will get emails that are very obviously a phishing email with the misspelled language and that kind of thing. But I tell you what, they're getting much, much better about making those emails hard to tell that it's really not from Microsoft or really not from Amazon. Mm-hmm. And I guess DNS filter, helps with those phishing type links that maybe somebody just can't recognize. They don't ask us, they just click on it.
Yeah, so that's one that's really been gaining momentum, especially over the past year, because everybody is working from home and there's a little bit less supervision, so people are more prone to actually click on those links. So although we won't look at the email, there are other tools that do that. We will look at the link and the website if somebody actually clicks on those. So if you click on a link that we have not seen that website before, we're going to scan it and we're going to try to see exactly what's going on. And we've been tailoring that AI over the past year, after past years, to be able to pick up these phishing attacks even as they get more sophisticated. So as an example, one thing that we do that's very unique is we actually scan pages for logos. So it literally looks at it and sees what logos are on page, and then it tries to use that as a piece of data as evidence of what's going on the page. So for example, if we scan it and we see an Outlook logo, but the URL is doesn't say Microsoft and it's a bunch of gibberish and then there's errors in it, we're going to probably identify that's a phishing attack, because that's a very common attack that they'll do, where they'll try to do those fake logins, as I think you're alluding to. And so we, although they're getting smarter, we're getting smart as well. So we're constantly picking up on these things and learning as we see things come across.
Cool. So, one thing that may be interesting to people, Kevin, just, over the past 6 months to a year, what are you all seeing, security wise? Is there anything that's notable, to our clients, to other small and medium sized business owners? Just kind of what are you seeing in the threat landscape, and anything that surprised you recently?
Yeah, a good question. I honestly, not much has surprised me, but really just the trend has just been that things are ramping up. Just the number of attacks is growing. I know numerically, I think CrowdStrike did the numbers that like the average size of ransomware attacks has doubled over the past year, from 150,000 to 300,000. And that's all because people are getting better at this and they're able to get in and actually get control of more data, and then they're able to post these bigger ransoms, right? And so although the trend and the methodologies haven't really changed that much, the frequency, it has just gone up a lot. We get the emails of people trying to be our CEO. We've had some pretty weird stuff come in, and I really do think that just with people working from home more, it's more time on the computer, it's more time where there's nobody over your shoulder. And so hackers are trying to take advantage of this, where, hey, maybe I'm at home, I'm just kind of checking my emails, just going through. You're a little bit more vulnerable, and maybe you do end up clicking on that link. So I really would just say that's just the quantity is really just the biggest change I've seen.
That makes sense. And you hit on a good point, working from home. A lot of people will have had to work at home over the past year. Nice. And, they may securely, exactly. They may securely connect in and work off of their work desktop, but they're still using their personal computer at home. And that can be a problem too.
Yeah, and then that's one of the things too about DNS filter is that we have an agent that runs on the devices that's doing that filtering constantly, and the use of that has just exploded over the past year. I started working at DNS for before the lockdowns, and it was the luckiest thing because it has blown up, and that's because it is a very useful tool for using on the endpoints. And that's one of the things about work from home is that it's a challenge for business owners when you have people working at home. You don't know what their network is, you don't know who their ISP is. And it's kind of outside of your scope to lock down the network or to provide them with a router or a firewall at home. And so that's why endpoint specific tools like DNS filter are so useful.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you noticed a spike in what you all monitor in your malicious traffic? I mean, does it seem to be mostly from inside the United States, outside the United States?
There's a lot outside the US, but it's always been like that. Yeah. And I think most of the attacks are towards the United States. That's one of the things to consider, is that we are still the big USA on the block, and so we still have the target on our back, and we have a huge economy, so of course we're a target. Lots of small businesses, and so although not much has changed, we're still a big target.
Yeah, and I was reading the other day, and it really is interesting, just in the global world right now. Especially countries maybe that we sanction. North Korea is one that everybody. Ransomware. Yeah. This is how they're almost funding their government. It seems like. So
I haven't heard that, but I know there's some sketchy stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, like I said, DNS Filter is a product that we're going to be rolling out, to our clients. But DNS filtering, regardless if you're our client or not, that's something that in the modern day 2021 year, it's just smart to have as part of an overall security stance, I guess, for your business, for your employees, for your staff. Is that fair?
For sure. And the beautiful thing about in a lot of these security tools, come along with a cost, not only financially, but also the elbow grease that you have to put in, the maintenance, the upkeep, maybe the hardware that you have to buy. All of these have costs beyond the money. And DNS filtering, again, even if you don't go with DNS filter, if you go to one of our competitors, it's still a very lightweight tool. It's going to be much more affordable. It's kind of a fast deployment. It's not going to interfere with what you're doing. And it's a really great way to add to your security posture without really having to do much upkeep.
Awesome. Awesome. Cool. I appreciate your time today, Kevin. Any words of wisdom for keeping everybody safe or wrapping up comments?
Yes, I'll say that the one thing that is kind of one of my crusades to make sure that more people are doing is use a password manager. I wish this didn't have to be said, but as I talk to more people about this, I realize how important that is. You know, if you mention those phishing attacks we were talking about, if they do like a fake login page, if you're using a password manager, you'll be able to know because it won't tell you to log in there. So it's not only is it going to make your life easy and you use secure passwords, but it's going to prevent people from logging in or sending their credentials to fake websites. So that's my crusade to help everybody out.
Kevin's tech tip of the day. There you go.
There we go.
Well, cool. Well, I appreciate your time today, Kevin. Thanks for sitting down. Thanks for sitting down with all of us and kind of explaining DNS filtering. It's something we're excited and roll out to our clients, something that we think will hopefully keep them safe, keep them safer, improve their security posture. So I really appreciate your time today.
Likewise. Thanks so much.
Thanks.